All I need is a place to stay for one night. The Apache woman who became his wife. The red sun was sinking behind the jagged mountains of the alien planet, casting long golden shadows across the barren landscape. Captain Elias Kane adjusted the controls of his small explorer ship, the Aurora Hawk, as it shuddered violently in the weakening atmosphere. The solar storm warning had arrived too late. His navigation system was flickering, and the emergency energy cells barely held enough charge to keep the shields operational. Elias had traveled to the frontier of known space many times, but nothing had prepared him for the emptiness of this world. The sky was a strange, swirling mix of orange and purple clouds, streaked with lightning. The wind carried fine dust that sparkled like tiny stars under the fading sunlight. His heart pounded with the awareness that he could be stranded here, alone, with only the hum of the ship as company. He scanned the horizon with the ship's sensors, hoping for a sign of shelter. The nearest settlement was hundreds of kilometers away, and the storm was moving fast. As his fingers danced over the console, a faint signal caught his attention. A small structure, hidden among the rocks, almost invisible to the naked eye. It was clearly a shelter, though unlike any human colony he had seen before. With a sigh of relief, Elias activated the landing sequence and guided the ship toward the structure. The landing was rough. The engines groaned and shuddered as the storm's winds buffeted the hull. He barely managed to stabilize the craft before it touched down on the uneven ground. Stepping outside, the storm whipped around him, dust and debris stinging his face. He shielded his eyes and squinted toward the structure. It was a dome, low and rounded, built into the rock, with walls that glowed faintly in warm amber light. The entrance had no visible locks, just a smooth panel that seemed to recognize his presence. Elias approached cautiously, unsure if anyone or anything was inside. A soft voice spoke from the doorway before he could knock. "You need shelter?" Startled, he froze. Out of the amber light stepped a woman. Her skin was sun-kissed and smooth, her dark hair braided neatly down her back. Her eyes were sharp and alert, but not unkind. She wore a blend of traditional earth fabrics and practical survival gear. There was a quiet confidence in her stance, a presence that demanded both respect and caution. Yes, Elias replied, keeping his voice steady. "I only need a place to stay for one night. My ship, it's failing." The woman studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "One night then, that is all I allow strangers." Her tone was firm but not harsh. "Come inside before the storm worsens." The warmth inside the dome was immediate, and Elias felt the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. The air was breathable and comfortable, a stark contrast to the harsh winds outside. The interior was a blend of natural and technological design. Walls of rock were seamlessly combined with transparent panels and soft glowing lights. Shelves held strange plants, small machines, and handwritten journals. The smell of herbs and fresh soil filled the air. "I am Naya," the woman said, gesturing to a simple mat near a low table. "You may rest here. Water, food, and warmth are available, but nothing else. You are a guest for the night only." Elias nodded. "I understand. Thank you." As he settled onto the mat, he couldn't help but notice the care she had taken with every detail of the dome. It was not just a shelter. It was a home, a sanctuary, and perhaps even a laboratory. He saw devices monitoring the atmosphere, small gardens providing nourishment, and walls lined with maps of the planet and distant stars. "Do you live here alone?" he asked cautiously, not wanting to overstep. Naya smiled faintly, though her eyes remained cautious. "I have lived here a long time. The planet is harsh, and most humans cannot survive without guidance. I protect myself and those who need shelter. That is enough." Elias nodded, sensing the pride and independence in her voice. "It's impressive. I've never seen anything like this." Naya simply shrugged, moving toward a small console on the wall. Her fingers moved with grace over the controls, and tiny panels unfolded from the walls, revealing more of her careful work. It is survival. That is what humans do best. Adapt, learn, persist. Her words struck Elias. In all his travels, he had met humans who were explorers, traders, soldiers, but he had never met someone who combined the wisdom of ancient traditions with cutting-edge technology so seamlessly. She seemed to embody a harmony between the past and the future. The storm outside raged, shaking the dome slightly, but inside there was peace. Elias watched her move around with purpose and confidence. She tended to small tasks, humming quietly, and then finally gestured toward him. "Eat. You need strength to survive the night. Tomorrow, you may leave or stay if you choose. That is your decision." He accepted the simple meal she offered: fresh bread, nutrient-rich stew, and water that tasted sweeter than anything he had drunk in weeks. They ate in silence at first, the soft hum of the dome and the distant crackle of the storm providing a rhythm to the moment. Afterward, Elias ventured a question he had been holding back. How did you come to live here? This place, it feels untouched by anyone else. Naya's eyes softened, and she looked out at the storm through one of the clear panels. My ancestors survived Earth's deserts, mountains, and plains. They taught me to read the land, the sky, and the stars. When humanity reached the stars, I found a planet that reminded me of those old lessons. I built this place to survive, to continue what they started, and to remind myself that humans can endure anything. Elias was struck by her words. They carried the weight of history, of struggle, of resilience. Here was someone who had faced unimaginable challenges and had thrived, not through brute strength, but through intelligence, adaptability, and respect for her environment. I wish I had learned some of those lessons before, he admitted. Most humans rely too much on machines and rules. We forget how to think for ourselves sometimes. Naya looked at him thoughtfully. Machines can calculate. They can predict. But humans can dream, improvise, and change what seems impossible. That is why you survived this long, and why you are here now. Her words lingered in his mind as the night deepened. Outside, the storm's fury showed no sign of relenting. Inside, the dome was calm, warm, and safe, a stark reminder of human ingenuity and spirit. Elias felt a sense of humility, realizing that no amount of technology could replace the wisdom she carried. Hours passed. The storm outside finally began to subside, leaving only a faint crackle of distant lightning. Elias and Naya sat together quietly, not out of obligation, but because conversation seemed natural between them now. He learned of her knowledge, how she cultivated food in harsh conditions, purified water, and maintained energy systems with minimal resources. She had made this place a haven for anyone wise enough to respect it, and for herself, a sanctuary from loneliness and danger. You have made something extraordinary here, Elias said softly. I've seen many settlements in my travels, but none like this. You've created life in a place that should have none. Naya's eyes glimmered in the dim light. Humans are remarkable. We survive because we never stop trying. We adapt. We find a way. That is all I have done. And now you are here, perhaps for a reason. Elias couldn't help but smile faintly. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, whether he would leave or stay. But for the first time in weeks, he felt hope. Here, on a wild planet, among storms and silence, humanity's spirit shone bright. As he settled down to rest, the glow of the dome bathing the room in warmth, he realized that this one night might be the beginning of something far greater. Not just shelter, not just survival, but a meeting of minds, hearts, and the human spirit's enduring flame. Outside, the wind began to die down. The alien stars peered through the sky in quiet brilliance. Inside, Elias and Naya sat near the warm glow of the dome, two humans bound by curiosity, respect, and the quiet certainty that sometimes the smallest gestures, like offering shelter for one night, could change everything. And somewhere deep within him, Elias felt it, the first flicker of a connection that might last far longer than the night. The morning light filtered through the amber panels of Naya's dome, painting the interior in soft, golden tones. Outside, the alien desert stretched endlessly, mountains jagged and strange under the twin suns. Elias woke to the quiet hum of the dome's systems, feeling rested for the first time in weeks. He had expected a brief stay, yet the warmth of the dome and Naya's presence made the idea of leaving surprisingly difficult. Naya was already awake, tending to her small garden near the wall. Plants unfamiliar to Elias glowed faintly, nourished by a combination of natural soil, synthetic nutrients, and subtle energy fields. He watched silently, amazed at her precision and care. "You slept well," Naya said, without turning. "Most outsiders cannot rest here. The storm and the unfamiliar atmosphere keep them alert." "I did," Elias admitted, stepping closer. "It feels different here, peaceful in a way I didn't think possible on this planet." Naya finally looked at him, her dark eyes scanning him carefully. "This planet is harsh," she said. "Only those who respect it survive. You have learned that, or you would not have made it here. That is why you are still alive." Elias nodded. "I want to understand more about this place. About you, about how humans survive out here." Naya studied him for a moment, then gestured toward the console. "Then watch, learn, and perhaps you will understand why humans are remarkable." The day passed slowly, but every moment was filled with learning. Elias watched as Naya adjusted the energy fields surrounding the dome, maintaining temperature, air quality, and water supply. She demonstrated how she harvested the plants, turning their roots and leaves into both food and medicine. Her skills were precise and methodical, yet adaptable, able to adjust quickly to unforeseen changes. "What you do here, it's incredible," Elias said during a brief break. "You've managed to combine tradition with technology. Your ancestors would be proud." Naya smiled faintly. "I only continue what was passed down. Humans survive by learning from the past and adapting to the present. Technology alone is not enough. It can help, but it cannot think, dream, or create as humans do." Elias reflected on her words, realizing that her philosophy was simple yet profound. Humans survived everywhere because of ingenuity, curiosity, and the ability to cooperate. Machines could calculate probabilities, but they could not improvise in the way a human mind could. As the day progressed, Elias's curiosity drew him to the small panels showing the wider planet. Naya's dome was not the only hidden shelter here. Tiny dots on the display indicated other habitats, some abandoned, some occupied. "You are not alone," he said, pointing to the map. "There are other humans here?" Naya nodded. "Some come seeking shelter, some arrive by accident, like you. I help those who respect this land. Others, they are not ready." Elias leaned closer, studying the sensors and signals. "And the planet itself? It seems almost alive. The storms, the winds, it's like it tests you." Naya's gaze softened. "It does. The planet teaches lessons. It shows humans their limits and reminds them of their strength. Those who learn, thrive. Those who do not, vanish." Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. Not from fear, but from awe. The human spirit, he realized, was not measured by comfort or safety, but by the ability to survive and adapt. Naya embodied that spirit in every way. Before Elias could ask more, the sensors beeped urgently. A small drone, sleek and metallic, hovered outside the dome. Its movements were precise, almost calculating. Naya's eyes narrowed. "Not all things out here are friendly," she said. "Some are curious. Others, more persistent." The drone projected a holographic message in a language Elias did not understand. Naya studied it, her brow furrowing. "A surveillance unit from the nearby colony. They track movement and report anomalies. They see outsiders as potential threats." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Threats? To whom?" "To them," Naya said simply. "Not to me. Not to those who understand this land. But they calculate probabilities. And humans are unpredictable." She gestured for him to follow. Using a combination of gestures and controls, she activated a series of holographic decoys around the dome. Small projections flickered across the desert floor, confusing the drone's sensors. Lights, shapes, even phantom heat signatures created the illusion of movement and life in places where nothing existed. Elias watched in awe. "You're tricking it, outsmarting it." "Not tricking," Naya corrected, "outthinking. Machines can predict, but they cannot imagine." The drone hesitated, scanning the area with precise calculations. Its sensors could not distinguish between reality and illusion. After several tense moments, it finally retreated, leaving the dome untouched. Elias exhaled, impressed. That was brilliant." Naya shrugged. "Human minds are brilliant when they cooperate. That is why humans endure. Not because of strength, not because of tools, but because we can adapt, improvise, and work together." For the first time, Elias felt a profound respect for her, not just as a host, but as a human being who had mastered the balance between intellect, tradition, and survival. He realized that she had lived in isolation, yes, but her isolation was not weakness. It was preparation. They spent the afternoon walking among the small gardens, discussing human history, survival, and exploration. Elias shared tales of distant planets, bustling colonies, and the marvels of space travel. Naya listened intently, occasionally asking questions, always seeking to understand. "You humans are curious beyond reason," she said finally. "You explore not because you must, but because you cannot help it. That is both your weakness and your strength." Elias smiled. "And you? Do you ever leave this place?" "Only when necessary," she replied. "The planet provides what I need. The storms teach me what I cannot ignore. But curiosity, it is dangerous if not controlled. Most humans do not survive their own curiosity." As night fell, the twin suns dipped behind the mountains, leaving the desert bathed in cool blue and violet hues. Elias felt a strange calmness, a sense that the world outside was harsh and unpredictable. But here, in this dome, humanity's potential shone. Naya prepared a simple meal of root vegetables and water. As they ate, she shared stories of her ancestors, humans who had survived the harshest deserts on Earth, whose wisdom had been passed down through generations. Their stories were filled with resourcefulness, cleverness, and courage. "These lessons," she said, are why humans can survive anywhere. You adapt, you endure, you find a way. That is why you are here. That is why I trust you. Elias felt the weight of her words. Trust was rare in the frontier, and he knew she had not given it lightly. He realized that his respect for her knowledge and her humanity had earned him more than shelter. It had earned him understanding. Outside, the desert wind howled softly, carrying the faint scent of strange plants and minerals. The drone's sensors had returned, but they no longer posed a threat. Naya's ingenuity had ensured safety, but more importantly, it had demonstrated a truth Elias had always known deep down. Humans, when clever and united, could overcome almost anything. By nightfall, they sat together near the warm glow of the dome, watching the alien stars sparkle above. Elias felt a sense of wonder unlike anything he had experienced in the cold, mechanical halls of distant space stations. Here, life felt alive. Humanity felt alive. I came here thinking I would stay for one night, he admitted quietly. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to learn so much from someone I just met. Naya looked at him, her expression soft but serious. Sometimes one night is all it takes to change everything. You have shown respect, curiosity, and ingenuity. That is why you are here. Perhaps your journey has not ended, but it has begun in a new way. Elias felt a flicker of hope. He had arrived as a stranger, uncertain, and alone. Now he was learning that survival was not just about machines or weapons, but about wisdom, cooperation, and the human spirit. Naya had shown him that humans were remarkable, capable of outthinking, outlasting, and outshining any challenge the universe could present. As the night deepened, the hum of the dome became a lullaby. Outside, the desert was silent but alive. Inside, two humans shared knowledge, curiosity, and respect. A quiet but profound partnership formed in the midst of a harsh, alien world. Elias realized that he was no longer just a visitor. For the first time, he felt connected to the planet, to its challenges, and most unexpectedly, to the woman who had welcomed him for one night. And somewhere in the stillness, he knew that humanity's greatest strength was not its technology or weapons, but its heart, mind, and spirit. For this was what the universe often forgot. Humans could survive, adapt, and flourish, even in the most alien and unforgiving worlds. The morning sun rose slowly over the jagged horizon, casting long, warm shadows across the alien desert. Elias awoke to the soft hum of the dome, a gentle reminder that Naya had already begun her daily tasks. She moved among the plants and devices with quiet precision, her hands adjusting sensors, inspecting energy cells, and tending to the small gardens that had become the heart of the dome. Elias stretched, feeling a renewed energy. The past 2 days had been full of lessons, not just about survival, but about human resilience, adaptability, and intelligence. And yet, despite all he had learned, he sensed that the true challenge was yet to come. A sudden alarm interrupted his thoughts. A low, pulsating tone echoed through the dome, followed by a flashing red light on one of the panels. Naya's face changed, her calm expression tightening into focus. "It's the environmental monitor," she said. "Something is happening outside." Elias followed her to the console. A vortex, a swirling storm of energy unlike anything he had ever seen, was forming near the edge of the dome's protective fields. Its intensity was growing quickly, and if it reached the dome, it could destabilize the entire structure. "We need to act fast," Naya said. "If this vortex reaches the dome, all of our work, everything we've built, could be destroyed." Elias felt a rush of determination. "What can I do to help?" Naya studied him for a moment. "Follow my lead, but be ready to think for yourself. This is not a problem solved by brute force. It will require creativity, adaptation, and timing." She activated a series of controls, sending pulses of energy to the outer shields of the dome. The panels glowed brighter as they worked to stabilize the structure. Elias watched closely, trying to understand the system, and then a thought struck him. "What if we extend the energy field outward, using a layered approach?" he asked. "Instead of one shield, we use multiple weaker fields that can absorb the vortex gradually." Naya's eyes widened slightly. "It could work, but it will require precision. One miscalculation, and the energy could backfire." Elias nodded, determination settling into his chest. "Then let's do it, together." For the next several hours, they worked side by side. Naya's knowledge of the planet and its energy systems guided every step. Elias's ingenuity and quick thinking allowed them to adapt when unexpected complications arose. Small adjustments had to be made constantly, redirecting energy flows, balancing output, and monitoring the growing vortex. Outside, the storm was a mesmerizing and terrifying sight. Lightning danced through the swirling clouds, illuminating the desert in flashes of violet and gold. The wind tore at the outer panels of the dome, testing the integrity of every shield. Inside, Elias and Naya moved with coordinated efficiency, a silent rhythm forming between them. "You think too linearly," Naya said suddenly, observing his adjustments. "The vortex is not just energy, it is behavior. You must anticipate it, not just react." Elias considered her words. He had been focusing on calculations and numbers, trying to predict outcomes with precision, but Naya was right. The vortex had patterns, almost like it was alive. He took a deep breath, stepping back to observe the storm as a whole. "I see it now," he said. "It's moving in pulses, not continuously. If we time the shield expansions with the pulses, we can absorb the energy gradually instead of all at once." Naya nodded, impressed. "Good. That is the human advantage: improvisation, perception, and adaptability." Working together, they implemented the new strategy. Shields pulsed outward in sync with the vortex's rhythm, absorbing energy and dissipating it harmlessly into the desert. The dome shuddered but held firm. Elias could feel the tension in every panel, in every system, but gradually the storm's intensity began to wane. Hours passed, but the two refused to rest. Finally, as the vortex broke apart and dissipated into the alien sky, Naya slumped against a console, exhausted but smiling. Elias, equally drained, let out a deep breath, the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "That worked," Elias said, disbelief in his voice. "We actually did it." Naya looked at him, her eyes reflecting both pride and admiration. "Yes, because humans are not just predictable. We can think, adapt, and create solutions no machine could foresee. That is why we survive. That is why we endure." Elias felt a warmth spread through him, not just relief but respect. He realized that the partnership they had forged in adversity was more than necessity. It was a recognition of shared strength, intelligence, and humanity. They took a moment to rest, sitting side by side near the soft glow of the dome. Outside, the desert was calm, peaceful in the aftermath of chaos. The twin suns had set, leaving the alien sky filled with stars, each one a distant sun, each one a reminder of the vast universe they had yet to explore. Elias turned to Naya, a faint smile on his lips. "I never imagined survival could be like this. Creative, collaborative, almost beautiful." Naya chuckled softly. "Survival is always beautiful if you know where to look. Strength is not always measured in fighting or weapons. It is measured in intelligence, cooperation, and respect for life. Yours and others." For a while, they simply watched the stars, comfortable in silence. Elias felt an unspoken bond forming between them, a connection that went beyond gratitude or admiration. He realized that Naya's wisdom, her skill, and her courage were a mirror for what humans could achieve when they trusted each other and themselves. As night deepened, Naya led him to a smaller chamber within the dome, a quiet place where the plants glowed faintly in soft blues and greens. She gestured to a mat. "Rest. Tomorrow we will need to assess the damage from the vortex and continue improving the dome's systems. You have done well today, but even humans need sleep." Elias lay down, exhausted but unable to sleep immediately. He reflected on the events of the day, the intensity of the vortex, the necessity of quick thinking, and the satisfaction of solving a problem through ingenuity rather than force. He realized that the universe often underestimated humans, relying on logic, probability, or brute force, while forgetting that human creativity could turn the impossible into reality. Hours passed, and finally, exhaustion claimed him. In dreams, he wandered through the desert, the vortex now a gentle wind, the stars shining brighter than ever. He awoke to the soft hum of the dome once again, the morning sun spilling across the floor. Naya was already awake, tending to a small repair on one of the shield emitters. She looked up and smiled faintly. "You survived the night," she said simply. Elias smiled back, feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment. "We survived the night." The day stretched ahead, filled with repairs, improvements, and lessons. Naya taught Elias how to maintain the energy shields, adjust the environmental monitors, and improve the dome's efficiency. He marveled at the blend of ancient wisdom and futuristic technology, realizing that she had created a sanctuary that was not just functional but sustainable, a testament to human resilience. During a brief pause, Elias asked, "Have you ever considered leaving this planet?" Naya looked at him thoughtfully. "I have. But this place, it teaches humans what they need to survive. The planet is harsh, yes, but it rewards ingenuity, patience, and courage. Leaving would mean losing that connection. And yet, She hesitated, her eyes meeting his. Sometimes, the heart guides where the mind cannot. Elias felt a thrill of understanding. For the first time, he realized that Naya's strength was not just in her survival skills, but in her ability to balance intelligence with emotion, logic with compassion. She was a human who embodied the best of humanity, and being in her presence inspired him to be better, to think smarter, and to value the human spirit above all else. As the suns dipped again behind the horizon, Elias and Naya stood outside the dome, watching the desert glow under alien light. The air was cool, crisp, and alive with possibility. "Today we faced a test," Naya said softly. "And we passed, but the universe will continue to challenge us. That is its way. And our way is to endure, adapt, and rise to meet those challenges." Elias nodded, a quiet determination settling into his heart. He knew that whatever came next, he was no longer alone. He had learned that humans could survive, thrive, and even shine in the most hostile environments. And he had learned that sometimes the greatest lessons came from the people you met, the connections you formed, and the challenges you faced together. And in the stillness of the alien night, two humans, different yet alike, stood side by side, ready to face whatever the stars might bring next. Because humanity's strength was not in weapons, wealth, or machines. It was in ingenuity, courage, collaboration, and heart. And that night, under alien skies, Elias understood the truth that Naya had known all along. Humans could endure anything, as long as they had the will to survive and the wisdom to adapt. The morning sun rose slowly over the alien desert, painting the jagged mountains in shades of gold and violet. Elias awoke to the gentle hum of the dome's systems, feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction. The previous day's ordeal with the vortex had tested both his courage and intelligence, and in the process, he had learned lessons he could never have imagined. Naya was already awake, tending to her plants with quiet care. Her movements were precise and graceful, a blend of tradition and innovation. Each step, each touch, reflected centuries of knowledge passed down through her ancestors. Elias watched her, realizing that he had come seeking shelter for one night, but now he felt that he had found something far greater, a glimpse into the enduring human spirit. "Good morning," Elias said, rising from the mat. Naya looked up, her dark eyes meeting his. "You slept well?" "Better than I have in months," he admitted, smiling. "I think the dome's warmth and your guidance helped more than I expected." She nodded, a faint smile on her lips. "Survival requires preparation, patience, and understanding. You have learned that well in the past days, but now there is another lesson." Elias tilted his head. "Another?" "Yes," she said. "The storm, the vortex, it was a test, not just of the dome, but of human adaptability and cooperation. And now, it is time to decide what you will do next." For the first time, Elias felt the weight of choice pressing upon him. He had arrived as a traveler, unsure of what he sought. Now, after sharing these intense experiences, after learning from Naya and working side by side, he realized that the life he had once imagined, the life of endless wandering among the stars, was no longer enough. Something deeper had begun to grow within him, something tied to this place, to this woman, to the lessons he had absorbed. I don't know," he said honestly. "I came here thinking I would leave after one night, but now I see that leaving might mean missing something important." Naya's gaze softened, and she gestured toward the dome's observation panel. Through it, Elias could see the desert stretching endlessly, untouched and wild, yet alive. The light of the twin suns reflected off the distant mountains, making them appear almost magical. "Humanity thrives not just by surviving," Naya said softly. "It thrives by connecting, by choosing to grow, by deciding to endure together. The choice is yours. You may leave, or you may stay. And in staying, you will discover more about yourself than you ever imagined." Elias felt a stirring of determination. The lessons he had learned in the past days, the improvisation, the creativity, the courage, were not just tools for survival. They were part of who he was. And now, in the quiet strength of Naya, he saw a mirror of that spirit. Independent, intelligent, and unwavering. "I want to stay," he said finally, his voice firm. "Not just for the dome, not just for safety, but for the chance to continue learning, and to continue sharing what I know, too." Naya's expression brightened, but she remained calm, her voice steady. "Then stay. But know this, life here is not easy. The desert tests everything. The planet is harsh, unforgiving, yet it rewards ingenuity, patience, and cooperation. Are you prepared for that?" Elias nodded without hesitation. Yes, I want to face it with you. And so, with a quiet understanding, their partnership became more than temporary. The one-night shelter had transformed into a shared journey, a blending of two paths that had intersected for a reason neither fully understood. The following days were filled with both work and life. Elias helped Naya improve the dome's efficiency, integrating new methods he had learned during his travels among human colonies. He studied her techniques for balancing the dome's energy fields, cultivating food, and maintaining environmental stability. Each lesson strengthened his respect for her and the depth of human ingenuity that she represented. Naya, in turn, observed Elias closely. She noted his creativity, his quick thinking, and his willingness to adapt. She encouraged him to find solutions on his own, praising his successes and guiding him through his mistakes. Together they refined the dome, making it stronger, more sustainable, and more resilient to the unpredictable storms of the alien world. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Elias and Naya sat outside the dome, watching the stars appear, one by one, in the vast alien sky. The desert was calm, almost serene after the recent storms. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of minerals and distant plant life. "You have changed," Naya said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "Not just in skill, but in understanding. You have learned to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be. That is what humans do best." Elias smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "And you have changed me. I came here thinking survival was enough, but now I see that connection, cooperation, and learning are just as important. Humans survive not just by enduring, they thrive when they grow together." Naya's eyes glimmered in the dim light. "Exactly. And now, you are ready to face more than storms. You are ready to face life, the universe, and all the challenges it brings with courage and intelligence." As the night deepened, Elias realized that his time with Naya had become more than a temporary encounter. It had become a turning point, a moment in which he understood the essence of humanity: adaptability, creativity, and heart. Here, on a distant planet under alien skies, humans could not only survive, but shine. In the weeks that followed, their lives intertwined even further. They explored nearby canyons, testing new energy fields and collecting rare minerals to improve the dome's systems. They discovered small signs of life previously unknown to humans, carefully observing and cataloging each one. The desert, once threatening, became a classroom for ingenuity, patience, and wonder. Through it all, Elias and Naya's partnership deepened. Not through force, not through possession, but through respect, admiration, and shared purpose. They celebrated successes quietly and worked tirelessly to overcome obstacles, learning from each other in ways neither could have anticipated. One night, after a particularly long day of repairs and exploration, Elias stood outside the dome, gazing at the vast alien horizon. Naya joined him, her hand brushing lightly against his. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky filled with a brilliant scattering of stars. For the first time, Elias felt the full weight of possibility before him. "I never imagined one night could lead to this," he said softly. Naya smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Sometimes all it takes is one night, but it is what you do with the nights that follow that defines who you are." Elias took her hand, feeling a quiet certainty settle within him. "Then, let us face them together." In the following months, their collaboration continued, and the dome grew into more than a shelter. It became a hub of human ingenuity on the alien planet, a symbol that humans could thrive anywhere, even in the most unforgiving environments. Visitors arrived occasionally, curious and respectful, seeking knowledge and guidance. Elias and Naya welcomed those who showed understanding and adaptability, teaching them what they had learned through trials and observation. Through their work, they demonstrated the essence of HFY. Humans were remarkable not because of weapons, technology, or brute strength, but because of creativity, courage, and the ability to adapt. Even in alien worlds, humans could solve impossible problems, form meaningful connections, and create life in places where none should exist. One evening, as they sat on the dome's observation deck, Elias looked at Naya and smiled. "I came here seeking shelter for one night," he said. "I never imagined I would find a home, a purpose, and someone like you." Naya's eyes softened. "And I never imagined I would meet someone who could match my understanding, challenge my thinking, and share this journey." One night was enough to begin. But what follows? That is our story. They watched the alien stars together, silent but content, knowing that the universe was vast, full of challenges and opportunities. And for the first time, Elias felt that the frontier was not a place of danger, but of possibility, Because humans, when they worked together, could endure, adapt, and thrive anywhere. As the twin suns rose the next morning, painting the desert in brilliant light, Elias and Naya prepared for another day. Their work, their life, and their partnership had only just begun. The one-night stay had transformed into a lifetime of discovery, learning, and shared strength. And under the alien skies, with the warmth of the dome and the promise of the stars ahead, they both understood the truth. Humanity's greatest power was not in tools, ships, or distant colonies, but in the heart, mind, and spirit of every human being willing to endure, adapt, and shine. Because sometimes, all it takes is one night to change everything.